Hey there, hello everybody. I am Carla Sanders, the Cosmic Crone, and I am here with you for part 2 of our series on sex after menopause. And today I will be sharing with you some of the insights on how to heal old wounds around sexuality and femaleness. This is some of the work that we do in Sex After Menopause program. So I'm going to talk about why it matters, why it's important, and why it comes up at this time of your life. And welcome. If you're here, by all means say hello. And if you have a question or a comment, feel free to put it right in there. Very much appreciate your feedback as we go along with this lesson. Menopause is a time of growth, healing, and change for women. That goes without saying. It's nicknamed the change, and there's that horrible old joke about the woman who's emitting coins every time she goes to the bathroom, and the doctor just says, "Oh, you're going through the change," which is actually, in the old days, it was about as good as it got for treatment for menopause. So instead of turning it into a joke or pathologizing this stage of life, making it an illness or a big problem, this is a time for women to claim the power of menopause. Now, every woman's experience is different. There are 3 main areas that menopause demands women face with wide open eyes and hearts. The one we're talking about today, old wounds around sexuality and femaleness. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the urge to expansion and visionary wisdom. And Sunday, I will be with you about recalibrating your sexual energy and how you express it. These are the things that come up for all women, and I will generalize and say all women at midlife. The details are completely individual, as we are. So the first thing I want you to know about this is that it's normal, it's natural, and it's necessary. It's part of how we're designed. When the hormones change, the stuff comes up for review. It's also not surprising that astrologically these issues arise with urgency in those years, that rough decade between your Chiron return and your second Saturn return. Now, if those are new terms for you, follow my work with the Divine Feminine Astrology, and you will, they won't be unfamiliar terms anymore. But this is, in other words, everything about our lives, male and female, say that midlife is a time of transformation, and we women have it at a different level even than men do because of our biology. So in my program, Sex After Menopause, the Pleasure Revival, we weave together the healing and revelation of these life forces. Today, I want to talk about old wounds around sexuality and femaleness. In her book, The Dance of the Dissident Daughter by Sue Monk Kidd, and I highly recommend this book for all women, especially if you were raised in a conservative religious tradition and it doesn't fit you anymore, then Sue Monk Kidd's book, Dance of the Dissident Daughter, is a beautiful roadmap. So she talks about the feminine wound. She has a whole chapter on it, and she quotes psychologist Ann Wilson Schaaf, who identifies the feminine wound as, listen up, the unforgivable sin of being born female. Take that in for a moment. In fact, feel, breathe, feel. Where does that ring true for you? I could list 100 things in 10 minutes of how it rings true for me. it won't take long for you to recognize a belief, a behavior, a memory that is rooted in the feminine wound. And this is particularly heavy for women raised in conservative or repressive religious systems. And thanks to colonization, mostly by Christianity, there is no part of the modern world that has not been indoctrinated with the story of Eve or the even older story of Pandora, both female figures that were cursed for having brought evil into the world. And because of those stories, those myths, we women have been cursed with society teaching us, at the very least, creating a double standard where we bring all the good things into the world and we bring all of the evil into the world. And I think other cultures probably have similar stories. So before sex even enters the picture, the fact that you were born without a penis weighs in on your worthiness, your personal sense, and the way society treats you. This is such a pernicious and invasive piece of culture that no matter what kind of family you were raised in, being female has been an obstacle to overcome. Now, this is not going into victimhood. This is simply stating the facts, the observable facts about the world we live in. This is what we contend with as women, and women of color have it to exponential degrees that I cannot even fathom. The feminine wound is the soil of what comes next, and that is your body, your sexuality, your reproductive capacity do not belong to you. They belong to a man, a government, a church, a medical profession. And throughout your life, you've had to make decisions about your sex, your body, your reproduction that were fraught with implications for your future, your ambition, your self-worth, your finances, and your health. And you weighed with every one of these decisions the moral, legal, financial, ethical, physical impacts that men are typically not asked to face. In truth, these hardships, because you are female, were imposed by men and male institutions. So let that sink in for a minute. This is not news to you. You know it. But guess what? We are really good at sweeping this under the rug for our own survival. We have become expert strategists at navigating life with the feminine wound well shielded and armored. So taking it to a more intimate level, there's a very high probability that you're carrying scars of sexual trauma. And it can be as intense as childhood abuse or a rape, or it could be something as daily and, quote, ordinary as sexual harassment at work or on the streets. It can be as endemic as, once again, everyday life, as having a lack of information about your body and about sex. It can be having sex that you didn't really want to have because and yet you consented, or maybe you didn't quite consent, but you had sex out of fear or shame or a desire to please or a sense of being safe, or because you wanted something and sex wasn't the answer, but you didn't have the answer. We've all done so much of this. It could be that you've lived through years of bad sex because of an insensitive or ignorant partner, your own lack of regard for the importance and the centrality of your sexuality to your life and your relationships. Slut shaming, fear of pregnancy or disease, fear of being a sinner or being called a sinner. It goes on and on. It's endless. It's in every part of our lives. Whew. And you carry, I want you to get this, whatever your mind has done with this condition that we live in, you carry these wounds in your womb. Wombs are made for carrying. They carry children. They carry ideas. They carry moon blood. They carry a lot of things, and one of the things they carry is wounds. And these are wounds, what I've described is mostly stuff that affects us in this lifetime, but some of it comes down through our ancestral line. It's not even ours, and we may be carrying that too. So what do we do about that? Well, here's one of the things that happens. Now, you can wake up to this at any point in your life. But by the time you are going through menopause, you are at a point of, I am not going to take it anymore. You have lived enough and survived enough, and you may have enough distance and enough perspective on some of the things you've experienced, that you realize, I can handle that now. I can face that. I can take that to my therapist, or I can have that difficult conversation with someone, or I can say no. You are able at this powerful, strong, surging time of your life to face the crap and not put up with it anymore. That's one thing. The other thing is that you can't pretend that it doesn't matter. You refuse. Your soul, we are once again talking about the soul. Menopause is a soulful time for a woman. So you can't pretend that your sex life is okay the way it is. You can't pretend that abuse didn't happen. You can't pretend that the constant harassment wasn't that bad or that it was your fault. You can't pretend that the insensitivity of the doctor in the hospital where you gave birth didn't matter. You can't pretend that the best course of action is silence. You can't pretend that it's okay to keep secrets, family secrets that you were told to keep. This is heavy, I know. So breathe. Breathe it in. Whew. Feel it. It's okay to feel it. It is safe now to feel it, because you have the power of your fierce menopausal inner goddess self to hold space for you. So what happens as your body is going through menopause? The hormones are changing. You're in your fiery 40s or your fabulous 50s or your fuck it 60s. You've metabolized these experiences. Metabolized. What happens when you metabolize? Well, metabolism is when we take in the food, we digest it, we extract the nourishment. Our blood carries the nutrients to our bodies, and the rest of it we shit out as waste products. That's metabolism. So your energy system has metabolized some of these experiences, maybe not all. This is lifetime work. But you have metabolized some of it. And your system, your womb, your energy system may be clogged by the materials of this metabolism. And there may be, if you haven't metabolized them, it's time for you to do that work. Your soul says, now, do not wait. You've got to face this. You've got to burn this up. Burning up. Metabolizing is burning it up. But this is the amazing thing. Remember, metabolizing is extracting the nutrients, the energy, and releasing the waste. That's what you do to the feminine wound and all of these experiences. You extract the energy and the nutrients and release the waste. So if it's complete, if you're done with it, you cut the cords, you sweep the dust bunnies out from under the bed, you dump the crap, literally, and you liberate the energy that you've used to tolerate, ignore, or numb out the pain. Now take that in. What would that be like? To not have to stuff it anymore. To realize that it wasn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Or even if you did, even if you made mistakes or have regrets, that's life. You can forgive and love yourself and release that energy into the world. Oh, that actually turns me on. That excites me. That's work I have been intensely doing with myself and some of my private clients, and it's work that we do in Sex After Menopause. And we do it in a gentle yet fierce way. Stuff comes up. I have to address it, because when we touch on the sexuality and you start acknowledging and amplifying your sexuality, this other stuff comes up. It just does. And so it would be irresponsible of me not to address it. And the fact is, well, let me put it this way. We meet you where you are. And the work we do around the feminine wound is content-free for the most part. Now, specific things come up, but this, what Sex After Menopause is not, is it's not therapy and it's not group therapy. You are not expected to sit on Zoom and bare your deepest secrets to a circle of women. Now, the idea is that the container is created bit by bit that is safe enough for you to feel free to express yourself, but you're not required to or expected to. We work with the metabolized stuff. And so what we do, one of the main things we do is womb clearing, which is a guided meditation that takes you deep into where you have stored and where you have been carrying this trauma in your womb and possibly other parts of your body. And then we clear what's ready to clear. We have a couple of other practices that illuminate your life and put things into context. And we do a cord cutting ritual. And that can free up tons of energy. If you've done cord cutting before, new stuff comes up. We do it again. It's something you can do as often as you need to. And when working with clearing and releasing, I believe that we only release that which is finished. The indigenous teachers that I've learned from speak of this metabolizing, and so we clear the waste that's left over after we've extracted the nutrients, the wisdom, the power, and the healing from whatever it is. And here's why that part is most important. In Sex After Menopause Pleasure Revival, our focus is on pleasure, reclaiming orgasm, reclaiming pleasure, expanding pleasure, and adjusting to what pleasure is like after menopause. Healing and clearing the old wounds and learning how to keep your system clear of the old wounds makes more space for pleasure. This is work of expansion. And expansion is not work that we do alone. We need the support of a sisterhood, of a circle, of a mentor, of spirit. We do all of this work of connecting our human support, our inner support, our spiritual support. We intentionally build this in Sex After Menopause Pleasure Revival. Pleasure, healing the old wounds, creates space for pleasure, and pleasure helps you heal. This is a cycle, a process, and that's why Pleasure Revival is so vital, and it is never more vital than the menopausal years, which will become absolutely clear to you as you go through the program. This also prepares us for a new level of healing. It releases the energy we need for the next level of work, both our inner work of excavating and metabolizing those old wounds, and the creation work that we came here to do. And that sets the stage for what I'm going to share with you tomorrow. Embracing the urge to expansion that is a natural process of midlife. So we start Sex After Menopause Pleasure Revival next week. The information that you need is on the webpage, which I will place in the comments here. And now is the time to register if it calls to you. I have already decided that this is the last time it will be offered at the current price. The price is going up, possibly doubling for the next round. So if you feel called to it at all, this is a good time to get in. And it's also a good time. It's springtime. Vesta, the priestess planet, is going direct on the day that we start next Tuesday. So excited. I didn't know that was going to happen. I'll talk about that a little more with one of the other sessions, maybe tomorrow. And you know what? While I'm on the topic of astrology, I realized I mentioned the Chiron return, the second Saturn return. I just told you about Vesta, the planet of the High Priestess. I have decided in this very moment that when you register for Sex After Menopause, in the next 24 hours, I'm going to throw in the gift of a divine feminine natal astrology reading. That's a $247 value all by itself. So if you know this is for you, you can feel the call, jump in and also get that reading. Wow. So that's what I have for you today. I hope this has inspired you. I hope you will go and take a look at Sex After Menopause. I would love to have you with me and with the Circle of Women in that program starting next week. Let's metabolize, let's revive your pleasure, let's get ready to be who you came here to be. Have a beautiful Friday evening. I'll see you again tomorrow.